Here are some thoughts I have about teaching Hour 4. When we, last class or a few classes ago, if you tap there, this will bring you to the focus on the patterns that we have in each hour. In the first 2 hours, we've concentrated on patterns that utilize do, did, will, don't, didn't, won't as question forms. Questioning skills are the foundation of conversation. About 25%, I would think, of conversation is question making. They have to be able to know how to make and identify questions being asked to them and in what tenses that's done. This is where you're going to come in to play here, to weave in and out of the different possibilities there to make sure that they are familiar and comfortable with them. In the third hour, which is the previous one, we've introduced them to the question-making skills with the verb to be. Whenever Emma's in a sentence, it always comes to the front to make the question. So there's a reason why we studied them together and separately here. The first part of every hour, the first 5-10 minutes, is always used to review. You can use different methods. I'm sure you have ones that are better than mine. Sometimes I will say, do you want to study? They would repeat, do you want to study? Then they'd answer all together, I want to study. Did he feel like going? Did he feel like going? They felt like going. And just weave in and out of these. Are you supposed to be meeting him? Are you supposed to be meeting him? I'm supposed to be meeting him. Then I may get a student to stand up, and I will feed him the pattern. He makes a question. It's repeated by the other students, and they answer it. For example, I'm supposed to. He would say, is he supposed to go? They would say, the students would say, is he supposed to go? He's supposed to go. And just run through these to find out. You're there basically trying to be a devil's advocate of where the weaknesses are. Once again, weaknesses and mistakes are a platform for you to help them learn. So if they make a mistake, it's no big deal. It's expected, and you're going to show them how they can benefit from that. In the fourth hour, we study patterns that do not use those do you, did you, will you, are you, is he, was he, those question formats. These, if you ever have can, should, would, have in a sentence, they always go to the front to make the question. Can you go? Could he go? Should he go? Would you like to go? Have you got to go? Here you see two forms of a verb together. Whenever they're sitting right next to each other, this one always goes in front. Have, if it's followed by a noun like I have money, you go back to the do, did, will question. But these are followed by got, been, and the past participle. So just as a point here for you, I had better, I better, and I ought to all have this same type of a feeling. However, they do not have the question format. So in that case, I'd have to make the sentence and they would have to repeat. I should does have a past tense. I do not dwell on it in this period because later when we get to the subjunctive in about 15 hours, 10, 15 hours, I'll be going over that, and as they will easily be able to assimilate that at that time. So, I can has no future. I can go, I couldn't go. I would like to only has a present, no past and future. I don't make a big deal to make it very complicated for the student because they're never going to hear can in the future tense. They're never going to hear I would like to in a future tense. It's just never used. I just want it to mimic me. The more they mimic you, just like a child mimics a parent, they will begin to feel comfortable with it and make it a part of themselves. So here then we're going to study these patterns. We go to hour 4. This is the PDF I print. As you see here, I just have a positive and a negative here. And because these patterns are rather limited in their ability to go from the present to the past to the future, I just have it like this. So I would go through these one at a time and then go on to this pattern, review this pattern. You're just weaving back and forth. Have you got to study? Where have you got to study? I would tell them, for example, I only want you to answer who. When I ask a who question, him. The answer is him. Who can you see? I can see him. Who should you meet? I should meet him. Who would you like to teach? I would like to teach him. Who have you got to meet? I have got to meet him. Who have you been seeing? I have been seeing him. So obviously here I'm beginning to introduce the past tense. Let me show you here. The way I handle it is, if you go back up here, the past tense, I give them a brief overview of the past tense. I studied, they're relatively the same. It brings you up to the present. The only one which is a bit different and more dynamic is I have been, because it carries you right into the present. These other variations here, although they are used in English, we are going to study those later. We're just concentrating on this and this at this point. We do have the irregular verb. And if you print this PDF, if they're not familiar with irregular verbs, I have a short list of them. There's the regular verb. This is I begin, I began, I have begun. So this is used with have whenever have in the past participle is used, or had in the past participle. If they have never been subjected to this irregular verbs before, I would just tell them there's too many to memorize at one time. Just take 5 very common ones, get used to them, and then go on from there. But to memorize them all at the same time is a big source of frustration and a waste of time. So I also have this, by the way, this is Korean, but if you have Korean students only, I've identified the exact or relatively exact pattern used in their language. This here, if you want another method that you'd like to get some ideas on and so forth, in each of the first couple of chapters I have these little U sections. If you press on here, it will bring you to a YouTube section, and once you zip out of the ad, there's a way to do it also with the flashcards that I mentioned to you before. And I briefly go through the patterns. I do put these manually put in the captions for you. So at the very beginning of this, it basically goes before we even start lesson 4. It begins to show you the breadth of patterns, the wealth of feelings that they're beginning to be able to express. So I hope that's helpful for you.